So welcome everybody to JPAL North America's 10-year conference, What Works to Reduce Poverty? 10 years of research and evidence-based policy to advance economic mobility. We're so grateful to all of you who joined us today, and I'm really excited to see both a lot of familiar faces and many new faces. We're also really grateful for you to just take time out of your busy schedules to join us. We know that you all spend a lot of time thinking and working to improve lives all around the country and all around the world. And over the next 2 days, we are really thrilled to be able to have the opportunity to share what we have learned works to reduce poverty through rigorous research and evidence-based policy here at JPAL North America. So this year marks not only JPAL North America's 10-year anniversary, it's also JPAL's 20-year anniversary worldwide. Launched in 2003, JPAL has launched a global movement to reduce poverty with rigorous scientific evidence. And around the world, JPAL's regional offices spanning 5 different continents are celebrating the significant strides we have taken to combat poverty with rigorous scientific evidence. And before we dive into today's festivities, I want to say a special thank you to people who made this day possible. First of all, I wanted to thank our partners at Arnold Ventures and Google.org for making this celebration event possible. And I also wanted to extend a big thank you to the JPAL staff who made today possible, especially Jatna Amador, Leslie Harkins, Lena Sonterbloom, Kate Christie, Aaron Graber, Maura Flanagan, and Khadija Noor. So just This team has been spending a lot of time over the past several weeks and past several months to ensure that today's events become a success. And to kick off the day, I want to do a couple of things. We'll start off with a few basic housekeeping items, and then I want to share a story for why I believe in the power of rigorous scientific evidence to improve lives. We'll then provide an overview of how we at JPAL North America think about our work and achieve our mission, and then give you a sense of what we'll cover today. In terms of basic housekeeping items, we are aiming to minimize paper use for this event. Therefore, if you would like to look at the conference materials and e-booklet, please scan the QR code that is on your table tent. In addition, we do have a hard copy at each table for folks who would benefit from taking a look at a physical copy of the conference booklet. Restrooms are on the other side of the elevators to the left, and each table also has a designated JPAL staff person who can serve as your point person throughout the event. Do the JPAL staff want to quickly raise their hands at each table? Perfect. And these JPAL staff can answer any questions that you have throughout the event and will be serving as the point people. We'll also be taking photos throughout the day, and all of the sessions will be recorded. If you don't want your image captured, please let the JPAL staffer at your table know, and recordings of the conference sessions will be posted on the JPAL website. So I want to begin today with a story, and this story is about my dad, who I call Baba in Cantonese. My dad immigrated from Hong Kong to San Francisco as a teenager in the 1950s. And when he first came over, he had very limited English proficiency. He loves telling the story of how he ended up in Seattle instead of San Francisco because he actually couldn't tell the two city names apart. As a teenager, he grew up in public housing in San Francisco's Chinatown and went to Galileo High School. And he struggled a lot in school, reading far below the grade level of what was being taught in his classes. And kids picked on him for being this new kid from China who couldn't read. But deep down, he knew that he was incredibly bright. And thankfully, a few others did as well. He had a really devoted teacher at Galileo High School who tutored him in English every single day and taught him the foundations of both reading and writing, and helped him work on his accent so he could confidently speak in English. This teacher believed in my dad, which then motivated my dad to believe in himself. He attributes the tutoring that he received to his ability not only to finish high school, but also to build a prosperous life for himself and eventually for his family. That early foundation equipped him with the skills that would prove critical for the rest of his life. After graduating high school, my dad enrolled in community college where he spent 2 years before taking on a few relatively low-paying jobs as a grocery store worker, as a postal service worker, and also as a taxi driver, where he continued to struggle financially. But then he found a financial planning company that he said took a chance on him. And this financial planning company had a robust job training program that taught him both technical skills in accounting and investment, and also non-technical skills, such as communication, relationship building, and negotiation. And my dad built a career at this company and stayed there for over 40 years until he passed away a couple of years ago. And the reason why I share this story is that my dad achieved his American dream. He went on to college and graduate school, which were both I went on to college and graduate school, which were not opportunities that were afforded to my dad. And I've been able to build a meaningful career, foregoing so many of the struggles that my dad had growing up. And it's this family history that I have that really motivates the work that I do here at JPAL North America today. My dad was a prime example of how strong programs and policies can be transformative for people in historically marginalized communities. The culmination of many programs and policies working together to support my dad changed my family's life and my life trajectory as well. And I consider myself very much a direct result of that positive change. My dad was able to provide a much better life than me than he had growing up, but he didn't do it alone. He benefited tremendously from these programs that we now know are backed up by rigorous evidence. For example, many randomized evaluations have found that tutoring is one of the strongest evidence-based approaches to advance student learning, especially for kids who are behind. Rigorous evidence also shows that sectoral employment job training programs that target high-demand industries can help improve job outcomes for low-income Americans. And in this way, I consider myself a byproduct of many evidence-based programs, from high-dosage tutoring to sectoral employment job training. But yet there are still far too few people who are achieving the economic mobility that my family was able to experience and benefit from. So how can we find and lift up more ideas that work in order to help so many more people in this country achieve what my father ultimately was able to do for himself and for his family? There is significant concern today that the type of upward mobility that my father achieved is increasingly out of reach for people today. According to research from our partners at Opportunity Insights at Harvard, while 90% of children born in the 1940s made more money than their parents, only half of children born in the 1980s made more money than their parents. And in the past several decades, we've also seen a rise in inequality along multiple dimensions. For example, for men born in 1920, the life expectancy difference between the top 10% and bottom 10% in terms of wealth was 6 years. And for men born in 1950, however, this difference in life expectancy between the rich and the poor had more than doubled. And we also see significant disparities in wealth by race and by education level. For example, according to research by the Rand Corporation, the median black household in America has around $24,000 in savings, investments, home equity, and other elements of wealth. On the other hand, the median white household has around $189,000, which is a disparity that has worsened in recent decades. And income disparity by educational attainment has also grown with time. If you're in this room today, you don't need me to tell you that poverty is an incredibly complex issue to solve, both in the United States and around the world. There are so many drivers for why people experience poverty and so many potential solutions to help people escape it. And so we at JPAL North America focus on different policy levers that have a connection to poverty alleviation, such as education, health, labor, criminal justice, housing stability, social safety net programs, climate, and racial equity. And we do this because we understand the complexity and interconnectedness of the challenges that people face while living in poverty. For example, a person who's experiencing homelessness may be the same person that forgoes critical health care in order to avoid crushing medical expenses. It may be the same person who has challenges maintaining a decent job in conditions free of environmental hazards. And it may be the same person whose children end up missing school and falling behind, placing them at greater risk for violent crime. We know that poverty is simply too complex for there to be a silver bullet, and we must work across policy areas in order to identify and lift up solutions that can help individuals and families out of poverty. And encouragingly, there are many policies and programs being tried to improve economic opportunity. But often, we actually don't know what is effective. And for this reason, we at JPAL North America are focused on building an ever-growing playbook of solutions across different policy areas to help low-income individuals achieve economic mobility. And we do this by partnering with courageous leaders, many of whom are in the room today, to research the most promising solutions, whether it's a nonprofit organization that's running a navigator program or a government that's running an innovative cash transfer initiative. And on the screen are but a few of the interventions that we've tested here at JPAL North America over the past 10 years. And if you're here today, you know that we at JPAL are a big fan of randomized evaluations. We focus on randomized evaluations because of their unique ability to tell the causal impact of a program and enabling us to confidently determine whether or not a program is effective. This is not only good science, it's incredibly important for policymaking. We know that not all programs, however well-intentioned, will work, and it's equally important for us to learn what does not work if we aim to discover what does. Because if we are to invest limited resources to scale up a program, we want to be confident that it's truly making a difference. I would go as far as to say that we have a moral imperative to rigorously test whether social programs are actually making a difference if we aim to truly improve lives. Because the programs that do work can profoundly alter the life trajectories of so many people like my dad. And Amanda's giving me a stop sign, but as the person who's kicking off the conference, I'm gonna go over at 1 minute. So I'm really excited to share that in the past 10 years, we now know much more about what works and what doesn't. And over the next 2 days, you'll hear from leading experts in research, the nonprofit sector, government, and philanthropy on ideas that have been supported by rigorous evidence to improve lives. And you'll also hear how these evidence-based programs emerging from JPAL's research base and research network are being taken to scale and making their way into policy. For example, just last year, the Biden administration had announced a new national initiative to expand tutoring to help students catch up from the pandemic, directly citing JPAL's tutoring research. And finally, you'll hear how we all collectively have an incredible amount of work to do in order to expand our knowledge base of what works to reduce poverty and to bring the most effective ideas to scale. Lifting up evidence-based solutions to our society's greatest challenges takes a village, from the dedicated organizations courageous enough to have their programs evaluated, to the researchers working closely to measure the impact of these programs, to the policymakers scaling up the most promising ideas, and to the funders who enable all of this work. And we're incredibly proud to say that in our first 10 years, we've been able to reach over 35 million people across the United States. Another way to think about this is 1/10 of the country through the scale-up of programs evaluated by JPAL affiliates in North America. And so thank you all today for coming and for your continued partnership, and we look forward to continuing the important work ahead.